Hey guys, it's Mike here, and in this video, I want to discuss a topic that I have had asked of me many times over the course of my, time on YouTube. That has to do with perhaps the most powerful non-key user in the Dragon Ball story. His name is Mr. Satan, aka Mark, the champion of the world, the reigning, defending, undisputed champion of the Tenkaichi Budokai, the strongest under the heavens, world's martial arts tournament. And just how strong Mr. Satan actually is in Dragon Ball Z and onward. Because the thing is that, there's been a lot of debates about this. Who could he actually be in the story? How far would he get in the original Dragon Ball if he were, let's say, hop in a time machine, courtesy of Trunks, for example? Well, let's break that down in depth in this video. But before I begin, if you're new here, consider subscribing, enabling notifications, and also, if you like this channel and you want to support it, memberships are now open on the channel. We have 3 tiers. You can just head over there, choose which one you want, check out the perks. We also have a brand new Discord server. You can come on there, talk, hang out with me, have fun. We're going to do a lot of stuff in the future. But let's get straight into the video right now. Of course, pulling up Toriyama's manga, something we always do. Let's go into the initial introduction of Mr. Satan. Hercule in the English dub, of course, because they didn't want to use the word Satan. Well, I wonder why. But either way, the fact of the matter is that during the lead up to the Cell games, after he announced his intentions, we were introduced to the world's martial arts champion. In the Viz manga, they actually call him like a professional wrestler, which he kind of is very similar to one. But he talks about how he is the strongest one, that Cell was just using tricks like planting bombs to destroy the military, and, basically that he, as a real martial artist, will easily defeat the amateur of Cell, showing the arrogance, ignorance, and maybe just straight up stupidity of Mr. Satan on display. And in the anime version of the events, we start to see some feats of strength from Mr. Satan right after this point, where in the build-up to the tournament, what happens? Well, Mr. Satan is shown pulling a bunch of buses into an arena and punching a hole through the side of one, during which he actually gets his arm stuck in it. A little spoof of the fact that he does strong feats that are very powerful compared to most human beings in our world, but then he's, a goof. He's basically a gag character, which plays a big part in a lot of this with the story. Now, flash forward to when he actually goes into the Cell games to battle against Cell. What ends up happening? Well, he goes there and he wants to show Cell his incredible strength. He's posing for the cameras, trying to make a big deal out of it. And what happens? He goes to pull out a capsule. In that capsule, what's in there? A bunch of tiles, which he prepares. Actually, in this version, they are just in his briefcase, his bag, his duffel bag, his gym bag. So he brings a bunch of tiles. There's 15 tiles in all. And what's he going to do? He builds up his strength. Whoa, and he goes to hit them. And he cuts through all of them except for one. So that's kind of Mr. Satan again. He does a strong feat. He chops through 14 tiles, but gets stopped by the last one. Of course, that's something I wouldn't be able to do. My hand would be broken on the first one probably. And, most people wouldn't be able to do this. Compared to a normal human being, Mr. Satan is really tough. He's really strong. But in the story, he's kind of an idiot and he's incredibly weak compared to the other characters who are constantly joking about him. Even Cell is like, this guy's an idiot. At this point, he's like, I'm going to destroy you like I destroyed those tiles, which we'll have to see. So he goes to attack Cell and he does nothing. And here is, maybe you can argue the first big feat of power and strength on display from Mr. Satan. where what happens? He gets hit by Cell, slapped out of the ring, and Cell hits him where he slaps directly into a mountain and survives. We could see him here. Oh, my face. Oh, it hurts. The pain. Oh. And, we also see other people mentioning the fact that Cell held back here. Of course, if Cell really wanted to, he could hit Mr. Satan and just deatomize him. He would be a blood splatter on the ground, or he would just be vaporized by Cell's attack. But he didn't even think he was worth killing. In the viz, he's like, oh, he must have a soft spot for idiots. And so he didn't put any key into his attack. He didn't really try to kill Mr. Satan. Nonetheless, he smacks into a mountain going really far away, and he isn't really that hurt. I mean, we see one of his teeth is messed up. He's bleeding a little bit, but he's not dead. He still continues to go. Considering this is the fact that this is Perfect Cell, a character vastly more powerful than the androids and Frieza and every single person in the original Dragon Ball by like a million times, that would suggest to a lot of people that Mr. Satan is very strong in terms of durability. But again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future, because let's get into the Buu Saga, the next arc. First off, I do want to talk a little bit about what Mr. Satan does here, though, where Mr. Satan, he does sort of redeem himself, even though he is Satan. He is the deceiver. As I talked about in my video recently, Dragon Ball Z from a Christian perspective, talking about how Mr. Satan in many ways kind of represents Satan, the character, in which he is, deceiving the world, even though he isn't really as powerful as he's made out to be, and so on and so forth. He does, of course, help. He's able to lift Android 16's head and throw it. Who knows just how heavy that thing is? It's made of metal, right? And he throws it really far. So that's another feat of strength we can contribute. And then he lies to everyone and pretends that he actually defeated Cell at the end, which people believe him because he is mostly bluster. But let's get into the Buu Saga. In the Buu Saga, Mr. Satan has a daughter, Videl, who is a crime fighter who teams up eventually with Gohan. Now, Videl actually is really strong herself. We see her easily beating up these really big criminals like this one. And Gohan points out that Videl is actually, at this point before her training, even better than her dad. She might actually be even stronger than Mr. Satan right now. So not just that, but also the fact is we could see that it's pointed out by Gohan that Videl hasn't even, trained with him one-on-one. So Mr. Satan at this point isn't even as strong as his daughter. Now, not just that, but also we see that Mr. Satan probably actually got weaker from the Cell Saga, because what do we see here? In the build-up to the tournament, we see that everyone's training, but Mr. Satan doesn't train at all. He's just hanging out. He's relaxing. He's not going anywhere near as hard as everyone else is because he just assumes he's going to win. Now, I'll talk about a little bit about the caliber of those characters on display. Once again, I do want to talk about feats of strength, really, in terms of durability. Because later in the Buu Saga, we see that Mr. Satan, first off, he goes to do the punching machine. Now, the punching machine we see here, he punches it in order to demonstrate his strength. Now, in terms of his overall strength, what happens? He punches it, and it has a rating of 137. Now, what the 137 actually denotes is a question that, isn't exactly explicitly explained. It could be pounds per square inch, or it could even be newtons. Either way, this is a very impressive punch because it's, again, above what most human beings in our world, if not all of them, would really be able to do, right? This is like Ivan Drago or somebody putting in this amount of strength. But at the same time, compared to everyone else, they just tap the bag and Android 17 gets a 774. They're putting in as barely any effort as much as possible. And then we see Vegeta just punches in and explodes, right? So the fact of the matter is that, again, we're seeing over and over Mr. Satan compared to the other characters, is weak. we see him easily not being able to stand a chance against 18 in the tournament. Obviously, she was able to kill Super Saiyans. We see that when he fights against Torankasu, from the present, not Mirai, he gets a little tap on the face and he goes flying out of the ring, smashing into a wall. And again, this would easily kill a lot of characters, even in the Dragon Ball story. But Mr. Satan, he survives. He gets back up. He's definitely hurt, but he fights later on, just as we see. Not just that, but also in the Buu Saga, we have his most impressive feat of strength. And what exactly is that? Well, we see that Mr. Satan goes on to fight a little bit against Kid Buu. In the anime version, possibly the strongest form of Buu, but in the manga version, probably not. Now, before that, we do see Mr. Satan fighting some normal people, is able to hurt them. Of course, he's way more skilled than them, but when he goes to fight against Buu, obviously he can't do that. He goes to attack him. Now, Buu goes to hit him, and Mr. Satan ducks out of the way by begging for mercy. But the reason why that really happened is because Fat Buu inside of him made it to where he would not hurt Mr. Satan, just like with Super Buu. However, once he spits him out, he still punches Mr. Satan right here in the face with a little tap. And Mr. Satan, he's hurt, but he's not dead. Again, later on, when we see that Buu is fighting against Buu, what happens? Mr. Satan jumps in to try and help him. Now, of course, he can't hurt Buu, but Buu, he hits Mr. Satan with his, tentacle, his, dealy bob on his head. He goes flying, but again, he doesn't die. This is a character vastly more powerful than Perfect Cell, who hit Mr. Satan. So a lot of people are like, well, he took a shot from Buu. That automatically makes him way stronger than everyone Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z up until a certain point and so on and so forth because he survived. Well, not really, because look what happens in that fight I just showed you before. In that fight, when he went to attack the poachers, the evil people who are killing people in the future, including his dog B, what happened? Well, after this, he gets shot. In the anime, it's the guy sneaks up on him, and then Mr. Satan goes to try and hurt him, and then he gets shot. In this one, he just gets right back up, shoots Mr. Satan. Bullet goes right through him. He is, mortally injured. Mr. Buu has to heal him, or else he would die. So, in Dragon Ball, Goku routinely gets shot with bullets, and so do other characters like Krillin and stuff, and they survive. They're fine. Master Roshi gets a blade from Chi-Chi, who's already super strong, thrown into his head, a blade that cut off the head of a T-Rex and cuts into his skull. He survives. Mr. Satan gets shot with a bullet, and he almost dies. Now, in terms of Mr. Satan's strength, I already showed before him destroying the tiles. In the anime, he pulls the buses and stuff. But in the manga, where would he stand in terms of the original Dragon Ball tournaments? Well, honestly, in terms of pure strength, he probably wouldn't get that far because look what happens here. In the 21st tournament, the very first tournament in the series, Goku, after training with Roshi alongside Krillin, he doesn't have really much in terms of ki blast or control now. He could use the Kamehameha because he saw it one time, but he's nowhere near as skilled as in terms of ki as he would be later on. This is mostly strength in terms of that implication of using it. I actually talked more in depth with Plague of Gripes, as you guys can see in the top right corner, about how gravity training works and ki and how they utilize it overall, where essentially, Goku is utilizing it on less of a obvious level with the blast and the auras and stuff, and more on a physical amplification type. So look what happens here. Goku's fighting against this huge muscle man. He just taps him on the back, on his back of his leg to let him know, hey, I'm here. And what happens? The guy goes flying out of the ring, smacking on the ground. He poked him with his finger. He wasn't trying to do this. At this point, he even tells Krillin, we got to hold back because if you go serious, you're going to kill your opponent. Now, Goku and his opponents who fight him are, relatively strong to this. Goku goes to fight against Nam, for instance. Now, when Goku's fighting against Nam, he's hitting Nam at different points. Nam is dodging him. And, well, what happens? He doesn't go flying out of the ring. He doesn't get hurt. He doesn't get killed. And he's even fighting back against Goku. He's knocking him down. He's dealing damage to him. So the fact of the matter is that the fact that Goku can poke a guy who's like a normal guy who doesn't use ki for the most part, and he goes flying out of the ring, but he hits Nam many times and he doesn't go far at all, shows that this character is vastly above what Goku would have fought this regular guy who can't use ki and doesn't have that type of training. Let's go even further. We see Krillin fighting against Jackie Chun, Master Roshi. And this is the 21st tournament. The two of them go to fight each other. And in an instant, really like 1 second maybe, look what happens. Nobody can perceive what happened. Krillin falls over. And then, well, they reenact everything that occurred. All this stuff that they're showing right here happened during that brief instant. If this happened with Mr. Satan, he wouldn't be able to do any of this. He isn't that fast. He isn't that strong. He isn't that capable. Krillin is close to the strength of Goku here. So he would be this fast and at the same time able to, well, hit someone and kill them instantly, like if he actually tried, like a normal person. This is Krillin the 21st tournament. And these characters only get stronger from here. Look, for example, Goku fights against King Choppa. King Choppa was a former winner of the World's Martial Arts Tournament. When he fought, he wasn't even touched. Nobody hit him once when he fought in the last tournament that he won. And then he trained even more. This is the 22nd tournament Goku after he kills the Red Ribbon Army himself, basically. Now, what happens here? Goku fights against this guy. Both Yamcha and Master Roshi, Jackie Chun, are both saying how impressive King Choppa is. Goku is able to hit him. Nobody could do that before. And then he, again, well, he blocks all of his hits and then he defeats him. He knocks him out of the ring eventually. And, he actually is able to lift himself up just with an air gust and kick him out of the ring. Now, again, remember, Goku with one poke sent Giant Muscle Man flying out of the ring. I showed you guys like 5 times, so I don't need to show it again. Now, the fact of the matter is, if he could hit King Choppa, even though he's holding back, obviously, well, that means that King Choppa could easily withstand vastly more than that. King Choppa, based upon the fact that Goku doesn't like instantly poke him and he goes flying at this point in the series, is way stronger than Nam. I mean, even both Yamcha and Roshi, who are way more powerful than Nam at this point, for sure. Roshi already was, but Roshi trained before the 22nd tournament to increase his power again, are saying how impressive Choppa is. And this is after Goku also beat Devilman, who also won the World's Martial Arts Tournament. So Mr. Satan would stand zero chance against King Choppa. He wouldn't be able to beat any of these characters in these tournaments that Goku is actually fighting against, like Nam. The fact that anyone could do anything at all in the ring against Goku shows that they are far more powerful than Random Muscle Man and far more capable of enduring damage than, the guy did who got poked one time and flown out of the ring. And Mr. Satan, well, the only feats of strength that are impressive by any standard of the Dragon Ball story are during gag scenes for the most part, or where characters are more or less implicitly said to not be trying to hurt him. Like Cell, which I showed before, where Cell slaps him and Mr. Satan flies out of the ring, like you could see right here. And then they specifically say that he didn't even attempt to kill him. He didn't try. Same thing with Buu. It's obvious that Buu could kill him instantly if he really wanted to, but he's just playing around with him. He hits him with his Dealy Bop. Let's just say that's the canon name now, because I don't know the necessary abbreviation, let's say, for it. And when he hits him before, he just like pop real quick, like a little tap, and he flies back. Mr. Satan, though, is basically a gag character. He is someone who a lot of the feats of strength that are happening with him, a lot of the scenes that occur with him, they're basically on the verge of not really things that are happening in the story, right? It's like, you know, when Goku throws a rock and he breaks the top panel of the manga. You know, it's things like that that are pretty much out of universe while still being in the story. Like Mr. Satan is not super durable compared to, like, you know, being able to be more durable than like Frieza on Namek and stuff like that, because he took a punch from Kid Buu, or he took like a hit from his tentacle onto him. He isn't stronger than Nappa and Vegeta from the Saiyan saga just because he got slapped one time by Cell and smacked into a rock and got back up. Or the same thing with Trunks, who is shown to be able to train 150 times gravity in his base, and then being able to hit Vegeta as a Super Saiyan in the face, right? Mr. Satan isn't even as strong based on all the evidence as somebody like King Choppa or somebody like Nam. And so pretty much the answer to how far would Mr. Satan get in the story is that, honestly, he would be eliminated in the preliminaries of the 21st tournament. Maybe he would make it to the first round, but anytime he would fight anyone who actually is trained with like Roshi or somebody, he instantly loses. He's not on that level. He doesn't even show strength feats akin to Kid Goku in the first chapter where he lifts a car and throws it. Nothing he does is even capable of beating Kid Goku from the very first arc of Dragon Ball, except for if he cheats, if he uses like, I don't know, explosive, if he does like a lot of the things he tried to do against Buu, he would lose. Because at the end of the day, his strongest feats are gags, and then in turn don't really apply. If you want to apply the durability, okay, but even then he gets hit and he will fly out of the ring anyway. So it's irrelevant. He'll survive, but he won't win any tournament. He won't win against any character. He'll just somehow miraculously live, basically, for the most part. So every character only gets stronger from there. All the feats only go up and up and up and up and up in terms of that. So how strong is Mr. Satan? Let's get into that in my conclusion. So in terms of how strong Mr. Satan is in the story, I mean, compared to like normal human beings, he's obviously really strong. He kept winning legitimately in the tournaments. But the main thing is that, according to the announcer heading up to the Buu Saga, it is said that, while no one really like Goku and others have shown up for years, like it's been boring, mundane tournaments. And not just that, another thing is that we see Mr. Satan constantly surprised by a lot of the feats. Now, obviously, Goku won the tournament before when, like, literally the ring was blown up and stuff like that. So the fact that he doesn't know, and nobody seems to know about the fact that these characters actually had powers and stuff, is a little strange. Except for the fact that the tournament used to be a lot smaller. It wasn't typically recorded or broadcast. And as a result, you know, maybe Mr. Satan, because he didn't see them, a lot of the people now didn't see them, they wrote them off. So as a result, I think that Mr. Satan beat a bunch of normal humans. He's a strong, normal martial artist, but compared to like Goku and Yamcha, even from the first arc, compared to like the 21st tournament fighters after the Roshi training and against Nam and King Choppa in the 22nd tournament, or Devilman or something, Mr. Satan's not going to last a second, literally. We saw what Krillin and Master Roshi did in a second in that first tournament. Mr. Satan loses in an instant. It's over. And so that's overall how strong I would say Mr. Satan is. Strong for a normal person with no abilities whatsoever in terms of ki. But other than that, well, that's about as far as he gets in the story. Let me know your own thoughts down below in the comments. If you're new here, subscribe, enable notifications, leave a like, and also, if you want to support the channel, you could do so because there are memberships in the description and on the channel. It really helps. We can have a fun community in the Discord and that much more. But with that being said, guys, we took a closer look at this and found out. So make sure to stick around because there's a lot more to come in the future.
Yeah, and you better subscribe.